So welcome everyone to the fifth episode of Coffee with a Coach. The guest today is Coach Cameron Bennett. Welcome, Cameron.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, I just want to make sure everybody knows how to find us for Washington State Varsity Wrestling Program at Washington State University. You can find us at urec.wsu.edu. You can also find us at WSU_wrestling on Instagram. And Cameron, do you know if we have any other socials or something that I don't know about?
I think that's it. There might be a Facebook out there somewhere, but it's
Okay.
been there a while, so yeah.
Okay. I think that's true, and I'll find out, and we'll make sure to put that in the next one.
Yeah.
If you are interested in learning more about the program, you can certainly go to those two options if you want to speak directly with Phil Burnett. Head coach Phil Burnett, you can reach him at phil.burnett@wsu.edu, and he will get right back to you. So, fifth episode of Coffee with a Coach. I've got my coffee with my cool sticker that I got at the golf fundraiser. Are you drinking coffee? What's in your cup?
I am. So I'm going decaf
Oh, well, if you
because
want.
I'm growing up. But I have
Yeah.
my mug here.
Oh, very
I
nice.
love it.
Very
I
nice.
don't know who these kids are, so I got this at a yard sale for a quarter, which I thought was hilarious, and so now it's my favorite mug. I
I
love the
was
idea that someone would sell this instead of just throwing it away. So
I was just gonna ask if those were your siblings. I think you should have said
no
yes.
clue. I was debating of do I play along with the gag or do I just
I
be
think you need to
forefront.
start saying that's your favorite mug because those are your siblings.
Well,
Um,
next time.
I
Yeah.
found out something very cool about Cameron recently, which is that you are from Walla Walla, which is only an hour away from me, and that you're a Blue Devil for Walla Walla High School.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about growing up wrestling wise in Walla Walla.
Yeah. So started middle school. There's like two middle schools, and the programs are very small. They're they've grown quite a lot from what I've known, but back then it was 20 guys in a tiny room that was, hey, we can put mats in there and they can and then wrestle. So it's that there's like two meets a year. Um, but going to that, we go to high school, and it's a well-established program, but it was never the leader in the area, right? It was usually Tri Cities, the Chiawana, the Pascos, the all
Yeah.
of them, and we just kind of tag along into that conference. Um, but we held our own. No, we wouldn't get stomped. We could definitely compete with these guys. Um, but it was a good experience. It was a way to learn, who you are as a high schooler when you get kind of beat on every week.
Yeah.
It's great looking back and seeing what it's turned into now. With the current leadership, it's kind of insane. We have multiple state participants, champions, placers, all this stuff. Whereas we had, I think, one in my 4 years there. So it's cool to see stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah, hats off to, is it Jake Butnoff or
yeah, Jacob Buttonoff. Yeah,
Butnoff? He's done, yeah, I agree. He's done tremendous things with the school.
yeah,
He's also an educator, and right? I mean, he works in the
yeah,
school. Yeah, and
yeah, yeah,
I just think educators that are also coaches, those students and student athletes really get the absolute best because they see them on the mat, and then those coaches see those athletes walking through the halls. They can check in, they can
yeah.
say hello, they can get eyes on them. I think educator coaches are very special. I don't know that we have nearly enough of them. um,
No.
and he's also done a really good job for girls high school wrestling as well in Walla Walla. I know he's been a really
Oh
big
yeah,
supporter, and so high fives to Jake. Big shout out, go Blue Devils.
of
We'll have
course.
we'll have to make sure he sees this, and maybe we could do something fun with Jake and WC Wrestling. I would be all for that.
Sure. Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Coach Phil and Susan and Coach Susan were just at my house. They just left moments ago,
Oh,
and
fun.
Coach Phil's got this big grin right now because we have 70 student athletes signed
Yeah,
up for the
it's
roster
insane.
for Washington State University. So I think it's like around 25 women, which is
Yeah,
really significant, yay. And
yeah,
almost 45, maybe closer to 50 guys. And so that's extraordinary. What he's also really excited about, as if the 70 on the roster isn't enough, but starting to get more diversity in the weight classes. So there's a lot of larger, those higher weight classes of men coming in, higher weight classes of women coming in. Then we got a bunch more smaller women coming in, which is great because those were some areas where we didn't have like a like a full like lineup if we're going to do a duel.
yeah.
So he is just excited to go. Tell me about like coming on the heels of nationals last year and recommitting to be a coach. Tell me where you are with your excitement level and things that are getting you fired up.
Yeah, it's super exciting. So to give a little bit of context, I started wrestling here in 2016, did my 4 years, and at that time, my first year, the average practice was about 10 people, and that was a large practice, having 10 guys in that room, and only guys. We didn't have any women at that time.
Mhm.
Seeing where it's come in such a really short amount of time is insane, right? I would never have thought it would be at this level. We had our preseason meeting on Monday, and I got there a little early when it's probably about half filled. I was like, oh, this is a pretty good turnout. And then you look back and they just keep filing in. You're like, it's enough now. I don't know how we're gonna fit them all in the room, but I think like you mentioned before, the really exciting part is the women. It's something that's untouched territory, not only for WSU but kind of the sport in general still. Um, and I think it's kind of gonna be what pushes it forward still. I think
Yeah.
WSU is special because we have both and we can compete very well with both of those teams and we commingle and we do everything together and it's a very unique situation. So it's great to see um, all the things that are coming. It's great. Also at that preseason meeting, it's a very strange thing to see, but we had Annika kind of rounding the women up and saying, hey, we should all sit together.
Yeah.
It's you don't know these people. What are you doing? But it's this
Yeah.
great first step that, I wouldn't have expected, if it was my first time coming to that meeting. It's really cool to see stuff like that. And it's again, just super exciting.
Yeah, I think you know, it's always early stages, so the level is really high, and
Yes.
we know seasons come with the normal highs and lows, and kids maybe coming in, coming out, whatever the case may be. But I think this team is positioned better than ever for the men to win the NCAA conference championship.
For sure.
I think the men are going to do extraordinary well at the national duels, which is in Cedar Rapids, Iowa this year. Super excited
Yeah,
for
it'd
the
be great.
team to go to such a killer wrestling state,
Yeah,
that's going to be amazing. I'm really excited about I think our women could very well take NCAA conference
I think so. Yeah,
year, and they had a very strong showing at their duels last year, and I expect the same, if not better, this year. So
for
this
sure.
thing could really, I mean, as if they didn't make noise last year. I think this year,
Yeah, no, we're in a great position with our lineup, and like you said, we have a lot of diversity in it. Weight wise, we're probably two or three strong at least in every weight class, and that's something we've never had before.
right,
And so stuff like that is just crucial to have, and it's great,
and good for practice and training. Like, so
for
to
sure.
your point, what was it like going in a room with 10 guys, and like, did you have the optimal practice situation and practice partners?
Yeah, so I think I got lucky because I was lightweight, and that's all we had. We had lightweights. If you were above 170, it was
Rough.
170, you go wrestle the heavyweight, is that kind of thing. Or we got to go up to the 170s. It's this weird kind of situation. So I was lucky, I had Hunter my first year and we got along really well there. We're great partners for each other, but the upper weights, it's just you're wrestling the same guy every day. And if he's gone, you're not wrestling anyone that day. So
Yeah.
it's really unfortunate there, but I don't see that problem happening this season, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and thinking about those heavyweights. in that time, people talk so much about how wrestling's not a team sport. And I'm always like, yeah, well, imagine walking into a wrestling room and you don't have a single partner. Walk into a wrestling room and it's empty. Now, how are you going to get
Yeah,
better? How are you going to excel? How are you going to train? How are you going to achieve your goals? It is 100% a team sport, not the
for
same
sure.
way in like a football or basketball, but dual championships. I mean, I think is one of the best things about wrestling because it is about team. It is about that final scoreboard where everybody has a chance to, go out and do something for the team. And
For sure.
so yeah, I'm excited that the diversification of the weight classes. We've got, the golf fundraiser was, I think, went really, really well. I can't wait to do it
Yeah.
again next year. For just some, you can see in my background, but I got a WSU hat.
Good.
I already had the sweatshirt. I got another shirt. I got all kinds of, wait, I got a shirt. Hang on. I got a shirt. So we've got merch.
Good.
We've got wrestling merch. So
A lot of it. Yeah,
we've got to make sure that we let people know, this is a way to support WSU wrestling. Just buy the merch, and then
for sure. Yeah.
that's a good way to support us. And speaking of donations, that golf fundraiser, all the people that showed up, all the people that donated in the background, is absolutely critical to this program. It was so generous and appreciated. All of those donors and all the sponsors and all the people that helped and all the people that there was a silent auction. All the people that gave items and products for the silent auction. So it this team doesn't have 100% financial backing from the or Washington State University. Everything is done on fundraising. So if you love wrestling and if you love seeing a team that is trying to do all the right things to get out there and compete at the college level, if you love supporting women in wrestling, if you love supporting men's collegiate folk style wrestling, if you love wrestling in the state of Washington, please make sure that you make a donation to WSU Wrestling. Small dollar donations are just as beneficial to this program as anything bigger. So you can, again, if you want to donate, you can reach out to phil.burnett@wsu.edu, or you can go to urec.wsu.edu. I know there's going to be another big fundraising. Phil and Susan have got another fundraising opportunity to come up. Did you hear, catch any wind about this at the meeting? Was that brought up?
He basically alluded to what you just said. He said
Okay.
there's going to be a big thing,
Yeah.
so you guys start now by telling your parents, your friends, like, hey, I'm in this thing. Drop in what you can, but there's also going to be this big event
Yeah.
in
So
due time.
let's talk about last season. Let's talk about,
Sure.
was this your first year coaching the team? Like,
First full
give us
year.
the timeline.
Yeah.
The first full year.
Yeah, so I came about halfway 2 years ago. Coached the last half. So yeah.
Okay. And you coached women quite a bit last season. Is that correct?
For the most part, yeah, I tried to put my focus on the women, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And just recap what that was, what that experience was like as a coach.
Really cool, to paraphrase it, short and sweet. But we had a lot of freshmen,
Yeah.
and then Julie, this kind of spearhead at the front, kind of bulldozing through,
Yeah.
and especially at nationals, everyone stepped up, and it was really cool to see. Looking back through the whole season, they're a very unique bunch in that, between Sarah and Marie and Julie and Petra, all these people, they're kind of just letting it fly. And it's something that, not to dog on the men, but you don't see from them quite as much. And I think there's a little bit of we got nothing to lose attitude, which I love. That's how I kind of wrestled when I was back at it. It was if I lose, oh well, right? I'm just gonna go out there, do what I can, let it fly. And that's what they do. That's my kind of wrestling. I love to see that. Sarah always has a smile on her face, which is incredible. I don't know how she does it. I would be always upset. Even if I won, I'm frowning and I'm tired and I look miserable. But she's always smiling, and so it's insane to see that. But I love it, and it's
Yeah.
something that's really special about this women's program. And with it being really only the second year that it's been kind of established, the first year I don't know if it really counts even, but it's a great first step, and it's an indicator of things to come, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. Women's wrestling is kind of known for a lot of action, a lot of trigger pulling, a lot of risk taking. And
Yeah,
the for people who don't know, the women actually have um, um, I don't want to say complicated, but they have a different season and postseason competitive experience than the men. They wrestle predominantly freestyle during the regular season, which is the
right.
collegiate style of wrestling for women, whether that's NAIA divisions 1, 2, and 3, or the NJCAA. And then when the women go to conference NCAA sanctioned events, so that's conference, that's duals, that's the state tournament, and the nationals, then they change gears and they wrestle folk style. So the girls have they have a different competitive, kind of plate that they have to manage. How do you feel like they, navigated all of that last year?
I think they did it very well. Like you said, they're in a rough spot where we're all practicing together, women and men.
Yep.
And men only focus folk style. So if anytime, all right, the whole room's doing this, well, if it's a neutral, it's fine. We ball wrestle neutral. But once you start getting this top and bottom, it's like, okay, well, do we push the women into this folk style, which they need to know? We do
Yeah.
push them into this freestyle, which they probably need to know.
Yeah.
And it's this difficult kind of situation, but I think they handled it really well, where they found a nice balance of, hey, let's work on our turns, but
Hmm.
also make sure we gut, we lace, we do all this
Right.
stuff. And I think for better or for worse, when we wrestled freestyle, they kind of just wrestle folk style anyways, right? We get a takedown, we end up on top, and we just try turning them. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't turn them. Oh, I'll try gut. Oh, we're up back on our feet already. And
Right.
so I think it's a very unique situation for them, but I think they're kind of nailing it. Um, it's it's definitely tricky, but
Yeah.
we're figuring it out too. So
Well, and I think, like I just remember some of them had never wrestled freestyle before. And I think
right,
they did it for the first time at the Mountaineer Open.
yes,
And when they kind of got going with it, I was like, "So how do you guys like freestyle?" They're like, "We love it." And I think a big part of that is, the it's the locked hands, no locked hand situation on the mat. It's riding versus, I got a short amount of time to get back exposure on you, and then I'm back on my feet and neutral. And for
right,
people that really don't love riding, freestyle's phenomenal.
it's great.
The throws and all those things, it's a lot of action. So they seem to actually really like it. And I know some of them spent some time over the summer learning a little bit more freestyle. So that'll be
Yeah,
exciting to kind of see, their progress. Um, okay, so let's just talk a little bit about your collegiate wrestling experience at Washington State.
sure.
Tell us what it was like back in the
Oh
day.
boy,
Now that you're
back in the
you're
day,
a coach now and you're older. Yeah, back in the day.
yeah. I always get a little jealous at the end of the season because I look back, it's like, wow, you guys got a lot of cool stuff that I didn't get, as far as like travel and whatnot. But I came here 2016. Um, I remember first practice. It was Brett Johnson was coaching that day, and he founded the club for those people that aren't aware, and he kicked our butts. And instantly, I was like, okay, this is what I wanted. And from the probably 40 people that were there, a week later, it was like 20. And then about a month later, it was 10, 15. And so those 10, 15, we were hammers, right? But numbers dwindled quick. And as far as like competitions and travel went, there was a handful of events each semester, two or three tournaments, maybe a home duel. Then it was conference nationals. Um, we travel in our own vehicles. We stay at a friend of a friend's house. Overnight trips were extremely rare. It was usually we head up there in the morning, we head back at night, just for money's sake. And so it's really cool seeing where it's at now, and I'm envious of them, but they deserve it, so it's good for them. But yeah, it was a wrestling 4 years here was definitely a growing experience. I think a lot of kids, myself especially, come into college with this "I'm king of the world" attitude, and I know it all, and all my parents aren't here, so I can do whatever I want,
Yeah.
and it eats you up a little bit if you don't use it right. And so I definitely did that, but I think wrestling made me grow up quite a bit. My girlfriend always jokes that, "Wow, I'm glad I didn't meet you 4 years ago because I wouldn't have liked you." And I was like, "Yeah, you probably wouldn't have. I wasn't who I am." And I think a large part of that's due to wrestling and teaching me how to be an adult. Coach Phil's, you know, top value of be accountable. It really does get you a lot in the world. Even if it's like, hey, I can't make it. Okay, thanks for letting me know. It is what it is, and that's got me so far in my life. Just that simple little thing. But yeah, I owe a lot to wrestling and this little club that's becoming a very big club and probably a real thing in the
Varsity,
near future.
varsity club. What do you think?
I would have never expected in my 6 years ago. I was like, nah, you're kidding. But
It's
it's huge. Yeah, it's fantastic.
a really big achievement, and hats off to whether it was the 2016 group that you walked into or later, Coach Bill, Coach Susan, James Cox, his family, all the officers, WSU, Department of Recreation, all the student, did I say student officers? All the student officers, all the people that have been helping this program head in this direction. Um, Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I got to give a big shout out to James because the leadership existed when I was there, but it didn't accomplish much. It was there just as kind of a placeholder saying, "Look, we're student run. We have students here." And they
Right.
would, fill the paperwork, and of course, that's what they're supposed to do. But James took it that next level. I think he rewrote the handbook for WSU
Yeah.
wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's this great framework that's going to set it up for a lot of success. And I think that's a large portion how we got to where we're at today is that massive amount of effort that he, Phil, and Susan have all kind of put in behind the scenes that I probably don't know all the work that went into it, and I probably never will. And I don't know if I want to, honestly, but it's incredible. Yeah.
It's 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 I can only imagine. And I'm coming in even later because I only got introduced to WC wrestling last year. So I get to come in after all the excruciatingly hard work has done. And not that there aren't still hard and difficult things that is facing the program and the student leadership and James and Phil and Susan.
Yeah.
There's always something that has to be dealt with and faced. But um I mean, it's just amazing determination, will, and resiliency. Having
Yeah.
probably being told no quite a bit, or no, you can't, or that's not possible, or whatever,
Or we didn't know this was a rule, but it is, and so we can't do it.
and just the
Yeah,
resiliency to be like, okay. I always say, what's the next right step? I use that a lot as part of my own personal resiliency when something's not going the way planned or whatever. I'm like, okay, what's the next right step? And I think they've been
yeah,
stepping 365 days out of the year for about 6 years.
for
And
sure.
it's been extraordinary. So, hey,
It
we
is. Yeah.
Matt, hey, tell everybody about the new mats, which only wrestling people, we can understand and appreciate the expense, number one, of new mats. But new mats in that room, and what a first of all, health and safety to our athletes is critical. But you've seen them, give us the inside take on the new mats.
They're perfect. I think, yeah, compared to what we have, anything would have been perfect, but these are especially perfect.
Right.
It's just, it looks like our room now, which it was a room before, now it's our room.
Right.
And it's great to have, the additional 4 or 5 feet of space on the sides, which,
Yeah.
okay, it's 4 or 5 feet. That adds up, and we're getting to every inch we can with these 70 people coming in.
Right.
But it's starting to look like a room. It's, yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I think 1968 called and they want their mats back because that's what was in there. Some of them
Yeah,
I'm like, honestly, carpet would be, maybe safer than, what the wrestlers were on. And to your point, I mean, by the time we really get rolling, we may pick up some additional people on the roster, and we're pushing
I'm
80
sure.
people in that room. So thank goodness we have four, a minimum right now of four dedicated practice days.
Yes.
We've got some, I think the Monday, Wednesday practice is 6 to 9, and the
Yeah.
Tuesday, was it,
Tuesday, Thursday will be
day is going
six
to be.
to eight, I believe.
And because of that 6 to 9, I think there's an opportunity to do some really cool things. Like
Yeah.
we might do all the big guys. Okay, hey, big guys, we're gonna come in and do a special one-on-one from 6 to 7 just with you, right? And then have the rest of the practice, or we might do weight classes from 6 weight classes, just you. I mean, there's a lot of fun things that
Yeah.
we can do and mix it up. I'm sure the women would like to have a ladies only practice.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
they can,
Yeah.
so they can spread out, and I think that's a great time for us to get into. We always want those feet to back 4-point throws. We want the grand amplitude of 5-point throws. So to have an opportunity, we'll have to see what Coach Phil has in store practice wise for those 3-hour practices. But any opportunity to get less in there and spread out and throw some people for 5, I think would be a good idea.
For sure. I've always wanted to do a wrestling 101 kind of class lecture, teach people, first of all, the rules,
Yeah,
because there's a lot of little changes, but they add up, all the stallings and whatnot.
right.
And then the the wrestle like a wrestler,
Hmm.
strategy, stuff like that. It's stuff that really, you'll figure it out later, but, so maybe an hour a week or something, sit them down in the lecture hall and put a
Yeah.
tie on and present something like that. I don't
Oh
know,
my
but
gosh, a tie. Are we going clip on? Or you just is it already knotted and then you put it over and slip it up? Are you gonna a tie like from scratch where you're gonna like do the whole, what do you got? What do you got in store for that lecture?
personally, I go bow tie. Bow tie is kind of the way to go.
Okay, is it like already tied and you plug it on, or are you wrapping that thing yourself?
I don't know how to tie, but I'm gonna figure it out. I think
Okay.
you're doing an injustice by clipping it on.
You heard
Got to
it
learn.
here, everyone. Cameron Bennett is bringing his A game, bow tie, and he's going to tie it himself. So
Might not look great the first time, but you know what? We'll get
honestly,
there. We'll get
I
there.
think all of the, I think all of the, I think all of the tournaments, you need to just wear it with a T-shirt, even. So this
Oh, I'd love to.
is going to be your signature.
Sure.
Hey, you brought up something. Shoot, I might kind of forget it now, but about the rules. There were big men's NCAA changes this year. What do you think about the 3-point takedown?
I'm conflicted because I think what they're trying to do is that we want more action, so we want to incentivize these takedowns. Great. I think in folk style it's a little strange because why wrestle top and bottom if you're prioritizing these feet? Um, I think it definitely changes how we're gonna have to get our wrestlers to go about things. Um, instead of getting six, it's now get seven, which is almost halfway to a tech. And
Yeah,
so it's a big deal to get a takedown now.
right.
Um, so I think it's got in put an emphasis on wrestling neutral and wrestling smart and neutral. We can't just get away with throwing our arms at a guy and hoping they fall down. We have to be really kind of conscientious about when and how we're taking our shots and not getting scored on when we're initiating those shots. We have to be really precise and patient. And I think for some people it's going to be kind of a curveball when they're
Yeah,
used to just kind of letting it fly. And I got scored on, I get up, and then I get taken down and get up. It's 2-1. New rules now it's 3-1. You're down by quite a bit. 2 points in a collegiate match is a pretty significant deficit. And so I think things like this are going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. I can't really predict it, but it's gonna be a fun season to see what happens. So yeah.
I'm with you. I don't know whether or not the 3-point takedown is going to create if I got 3 on the board and you've got 0, what's my sense of urgency now to score? There's a philosophy, more points on the board creates more scoring. And I
Yeah.
understand that. And particularly with kind of the pace of freestyle, you can start scoring points, you can get a tech in 30 seconds,
Sure.
with the back exposure. If I get a feet to back and back exposure, I get a takedown and I lace you all the way on the mat, and then we're off. But
Right.
it's going to be really interesting to see, first of all, how coaches are going to game everything. How are they going to game the 3-point takedown?
Yes, that'll be interesting.
And I think this maybe should be for the men for the entire season, and then the women for parts of the season, and NCAA sanctioned events. That the hustle for back points. It's
Yes.
everything about the takedowns. This is where I think we as a team we could be that team where we're the 7-point team, like you said. It's 3, and then,
Yeah.
we want to get that minimum of 3 back points, right? So all of
Right.
our transitions from takedown, right? And getting really like surgical precision about when I take someone down and they're on their side or their hands like this, how am I making sure I keep them on their back? How am I chasing those back points? And do we have that strong hustle, that strong hunger and sense of urgency to get 6 or 7 or, whatever we can get our hands on?
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be really interesting to see how the team adapts, especially freshmen coming in who
Yeah.
are used to this high school rule set. Now you're in a new college rule set that even us coaches might not be super familiar with at the start. I'm sure there are going to be some strange challenges where it's, why do you get 3 points? Well, you got a takedown. Of course, you got 3 points. Oh,
Yeah.
our bad. But there's going to be a learning curve here, so
Well, and the high
it'll be interesting.
school, the criteria for a high school takedown, not exactly identical to a college one. Those college
No.
takedowns get scored a little quicker.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
there's the reaction time that we see in high school gets almost removed in college. And that's okay. That's all part of the growing learning process.
Yeah.
Part of the fun of wrestling is always having, how well do we adapt? How well do we learn? And then how well can we take it and put it out into practice, measure ourselves, go back, rework it again, and go. I mean, that's what's so
For
great.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay. Do you have cauliflower ear? Burning question.
No, but I wish I did. I
Oh,
wish and don't wish I did, right? As a youth growing up, it's like, oh, that'd be so cool. I'm glad I don't.
yeah.
Everyone kind of wants it
But we
though,
can still
right?
give it to
But
you. If you want
I
it, we
know
can still give it to you. That's not a
I got a
problem.
vice. I can crank it in the vice.
Oh,
Yeah,
let's take you in the wrestling room and do it au natural. Let's make sure that's
I'd love it. Yeah,
an organic
trial by
experience.
fire.
What's the cauliflower ratio in a room? We're gonna have to find that out. Who has it?
It's pretty small, thankfully. I think David's got a little one brewing.
Oh, okay.
Rogan had one brewing. I don't know if they've ever fully cauliflowered. I think Gons
Okay.
has one, but it's
All
low,
right.
thankfully.
But I think we're definitely up in eye trauma from nationals last year. We had 2 of our men's wrestlers have to go for some medical care. They both got eyebrow splits. They both needed a little treatment, a couple stitches,
Yes.
some glue. um,
Yeah.
talk about nationals. What was nationals like for you?
Tournament wise, fantastic. The setting of Puerto Rico, probably not ideal, but it is what it is. I think the showing from the men and women was perfect.
Yeah,
It's a very young team, and they came a lot farther than they probably should have. And so I think that's setting us up really well, men and women, for a lot of success in these next 3, 4 years when those freshmen are up to their, final years here. I think that's something that we haven't really had. We haven't had a large graduating class. And I think the success at nationals and just throughout the season in general, the duels, it's a big confidence boost of, okay, I have success here. I'm young. I
yeah,
can come back and do better.
right.
That's a really big factor in wanting to come back. It's, I can do something here. If you come your freshman year and you're getting bullied, So maybe I'm just not cut out for this. What's the point, right? But when you start seeing success, your partner's getting up on the podium,
Yeah.
it's a really big deal, and it's going to be great this season with that little bit of confidence, a little bit chip on your shoulder. Oh, we could do better. And so it's
Yeah.
it's going to be super exciting to see how we do. It's going to be great. Yeah.
There's been a lot of discussion about how we pretty much owned that environment. It was WSU wrestlers everywhere. And high fives and all the accolades go to the WSU parents and the families that came all the way to Puerto Rico to support their child and the team. And
Yes.
basically they owned, they were the fan zone. Nationals, and not to mention just the absolute haul of, I mean, like, TSA didn't know what to do with us because it's like beep beep. Oh, we got another award. Beep, there goes the trophy. Beep, there
Yeah.
goes another award.
Yeah.
Beep, right?
Yeah.
So TSA, just heads up, we're coming to nationals this year in Louisiana, and you might want to get your best scanners out and ready to go because we're going to be beeping and flashing and causing a ruckus coming through your.
Yes.
And I mean that in the same
Yes.
possible way. We're talking about awards. Okay. I don't need TSA knocking on my door if it's.
Yeah, you're on a watch list now.
Okay. So, Cameron, I would be remiss if I didn't discuss the fact that you have a tremendous internship right now, as you are getting your second degree. Is this degree number two? Or your
Degree number 2. Yes.
two? And please share with everyone. First, tell them what your first degree was in, and then tell us and everyone about the decision to go in this additional direction with your education and your internship.
Sure. Yeah. So I came to WSU in 2016. I was originally studying neuroscience. I quickly found that I don't like biology, and it's just, I don't know, wasn't my thing. So I switched to physics,
Okay.
and then so I graduated there. Graduated 2020. It was middle of COVID, so I decided to just go on with life. Took a little bit of a gap year, made some money, and then I decided that the whole science government contract, do I have a job next year, wasn't quite my thing. I don't like the research, so I came back. Now I'm studying mechanical engineering, a much more probably lucrative career, hopefully, and I'm super excited about it. I'm really in love with it. I love gadgets and designing things. I have airplanes on my wall.
Love it.
Um,
Yeah, love it.
yeah, it's fantastic. Got an internship up at SEL here in Pullman. They
For
make a
those
lot
of
of
us who
like,
don't know what that is, can you tell us who that is?
yes, yes. So they do a lot of electronics. So they do like the telephone poles that carry electricity. They make safety devices for it. So
Okay.
if a telephone pole goes down, they have a bunch of relays that can essentially tell you where it is. So we just, oh, it's right there. Go fix it rather than driving 20 miles trying to find where the line broke, stuff like that. And so as a mechanical engineer, the role I'm in is I make the testing devices for it. So we essentially make like big metal boxes with lids. And you'll take like a circuit board, you can plug it in, close the lid, and it'll run a program, whatever, and tell you if the board works properly, if it's defective, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's super enjoyable. I like
And for those of us
making
who
things.
don't know what that acronym means, what's the long version of the company name?
Yeah, SEL, so Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go. Plug for them. They got it.
yeah,
Schweitzer, you got a good one. You got a good one here. I hope you hire him after
me too.
after he. Meanwhile, he's wearing is that a Lockheed as in Lockheed Martin t-shirt?
This is
Bygone.
my other SEL shirt.
You got that at a thrift shop. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was garbage, and I just pulled it out. So
With the
yeah,
mug.
yeah, it was a 2-for-1 deal. Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Okay. First, just a couple things. First practice for WC Wrestling starts September 25th. So
yes,
I know I'm starting to put I'm starting to put my calendars on the wall. I've got the schedule out. I got all my month-to-month calendars out. I got the tournament dates. I got the dates that I'm planning on coming up to Pullman to support training or whatever the case may be. I hope that I want kids to know when I come up, somebody better take me to class. It's like bring your coach to class day and somebody better take me to a class. I want to see some stuff. I want to meet your professors. This is going to be also my chance to like talk you up in front of your professor and maybe score you some bonus points or a little slack if we're traveling. So yeah, I want to come and see some classes. So I'm getting all this stuff on my schedule. And we've got a really exciting event this year. Never done it before. This has all been spearheaded. The vision for this has all come from Coach Phil, but to do a collegiate wrestling showcase, and that is going to be on October. Let me get October 29th. Do I have the date right?
Yes, I believe
October.
so. I think so.
And it's at Sumner High School, and he is inviting all of the college programs here in Washington. I think it's going to be a really amazing event. And I love that he is trying to create something new, something that brings all the teams together, kind of like a kickoff, for the beginning of the season. And so that's a really exciting addition to the schedule this year. What part of the first week of practice are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to see what we have to work on. It's always interesting when we
Everything.
get we get a lot of freshmen in, and this is what my coach told me. It's like,
Yeah.
that's great, but it's college. It's not going to work, right? The mat returns, where I pull them on top of me and scramble, doesn't work, you know? So I love getting in there. I love knowing what we need to work on and getting just introduced to all the people. We always have a bunch of characters on the team. So
Love
that's going
it.
to be great seeing who those are.
Love the character.
And oh yeah, it's going to be great. It's always cool seeing, the little friend groups form and hey, what are you doing after practice? Oh, I'm going here. Okay, let's go. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's very unique. It's something really cool that exists probably only within WSU to this degree. I don't think other teams are as much of a community as we get. And it's day one. It's a very strange thing that I can't explain, but there's something about it that's just really cool. And yeah, it's so great to see. Yeah.
It's special. Well, Cam, I'm really glad that you've decided to coach again and that, as you were pointing out, this program, that the to have a real collegiate regular season, to have travel opportunities, what we call flyaway tournaments,
Yeah.
men's and women's program, a head coach, a really, really solid, president and James, all the good stuff right now, things that, were desired when you were an athlete, but hadn't come together yet. I'm really glad that you're sticking around and you get to experience all the good stuff. I'm glad I'm there because it's all amazing to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
great.
it's all amazing to me. So do you have anything further that you wanna share about the team, thoughts going into the season?
I know I've said a lot, but it's super exciting. I think
Yeah.
we're definitely still on the upward projection. We haven't peaked out. We're definitely not going down.
Oh,
So
heck
that
no.
only leaves going up. And it's going to be really interesting to see not only where we end up in the next 5 years, but the next couple decades or so. I don't think we're going away anytime soon. I think with the introduction of the women's team and this whole push in the NCAA to get women actually competing in college, it's going to be fantastic. And I think we have a great opportunity to maybe even spearhead that. It's going to be super cool. Um, Wrestling's not going anywhere. And so we might as well be a part of it. It's
You
going to be
cannot
super
get rid of
cool.
us. You cannot get
No,
rid of us. Absolutely
we'll
not.
find a way. Yeah.
All right, TSA, you heard me. We're coming. Louisiana Nationals.
Yes.
Cameron Bennett, thanks for being on episode 5 of Coffee with a Coach. We'll see you at practice.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
Yep.